Hey guys, it's Kenny here from the Fantasy Golf Degenerates and the Fantasy Fanatics, bringing you my cash game cornerstones for the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Before we get into this week's tournament, let's recap last week's Farmers Insurance Open. Definitely a strange tournament with so many big names missing the cut. I had 3 of 4 of my picks make it through the cut last week. The one golfer that didn't make it was Dustin Johnson. Didn't really expect that from him, one of the best players in the world. Luckily, he was very, very popular, and barely anyone got 6 of 6 through. I think after the MDF on Saturday, I think there was only around 2% of lineups that got 6 of 6 through. Looking back at the results from this past year, the 2 golfers in my cash game cornerstones that missed the cut in the past 3 tournaments were both high-priced, high-owned guys. DJ last week and Snedeker a few weeks ago, so that's sort of strange. My other 3 picks last week were Gary Woodland, who finished in 20th. He did well before he faded a bit on the weekend. I also had the Uber chalk play, Charles Howell III, who, if you didn't have in your lineup, you were facing an uphill battle as he finished in 2nd place. My final pick was Martin Laird, who MDF'd. He didn't play Sunday, but technically he still made the cut. It wasn't the best week, but I used all 4 of these golfers in my cash lineup and still cashed with ease. So hopefully you did too. My other 2 golfers in my main cash lineup were Mark Leishman and Brendan Steele, who both finished top 20. So hopefully you guys made out well too. It was a tough week, but still profitable. And if you use these 4 picks and your other 2 guys made the cut, you were still in the money. So let's move on to this week, the Waste Management Phoenix Open. It's going to be played at the Stadium course at TPC Scottsdale. Of course, this course is known for its iconic 16th hole. It's more similar to a football game crowd than it is a golf tournament crowd. There was a course redesign in 2014, which made the course a bit more difficult, but scoring, can still take place here, and I don't think the course is going to be as difficult as it was last week at Torrey Pines. Some stats I'm looking for this week: strokes gained tee to green, which for me is an important stat every week. But looking at the trends of this tournament the last few years, I think it's going to be a little bit more important than usual. I'll also be taking a big look at ball striking, which is a combination of driving accuracy, driving distance, and greens and regulation, and birdie or better percentage. There are a few more stats I'm looking at, and you can find them on my expert model this week on thefantasyfanatics.com. On the spreadsheet this week, I'll be weighting my key stats at 50%, current form at 25%, and course history at 25%. So now let's get on to this week's picks. My first pick, I'm starting up the very top. It's going to be Jordan Spieth at $12,000. The pricing on DK on DraftKings is definitely crazy this week, and there's a ton of value in the high 6K to mid 7K range. So going with Jordan, who is the highest priced golfer this week in the field, is a very viable strategy for cash. Excuse me. He's been very, very hot lately with 7 top 10s in his last 11 tournaments, including a win at the Australian Open about a month ago. He's very consistent, rarely ever misses cuts, and he's had success here in the past with a top 10 a couple of years ago. He is my number 1 ranked golfer overall on my expert model on thefantasyfanatics.com. He's also the number 1 golfer in my key stats. He's basically inside the top 10 in every stat that I am looking for this week. Now, I know some of you are going to be asking, why not Hideki or Justin Thomas or John Ram up top? I think this could be just a little bit of recency bias after we saw a bunch of the top guys miss the cut last week, and I think Spieth is the safest play out of these 4. I think Hideki has peaked, really. He's come down to earth with his putter the last few weeks. He actually struggled with his irons last week, which was quite surprising. JT is hot. Thomas is hot, of course, back-to-back victories, but they both came up on wide open courses with little to no rough and barely any trouble. That's not the case this week at Scottsdale. Since the redesign, the landing spots on the fairways have become more narrow. Tom Weiskopf, who redesigned the course, actually added bunkers in places where long hitters tend to hit it. I think I go wait and see with Justin Thomas. I know he's hot, but winning those 2 tournaments in courses that are fairly easy with wide fairways, this is not that weak. I do like Ram. John Ram a bit for cash. But there is, the week after a victory narrative going on for him. We saw that with Hudson Swafford last week, who missed the cut after his victory at the Career Builder Challenge. Swafford hadn't missed a cut in about 18, 19 tournaments. So there is some risk of loss of focus because of his recent win and the fact that he's headed home. He went to school in Arizona State. I'm sure he'll have some obligations, want to go see friends, blah, 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 all that stuff. So it's possible that he doesn't have the focus he needs this week. I do like him, though. If you want to play Ram and cash, okay, I could deal with that. But personally, I think Spieth is the safer play of the four. Next up, it's going to be Brendan Steele at $8,200. He comes up as my number 3 ranked golfer overall on my model on thefantasyfanatics.com. Steele has excellent current form, making all 6 of his cuts so far this year, with 3 top 6s, including a win at the Safeway. He's actually shot a combined 75 under par so far this year in his 6 tournaments, and he has solid course history, making all 6 of his cuts with 3 top 10s here at TPC Scottsdale. He has all the stats I'm looking for this week as well. 11th in strokes gained. I know it's a small sample size early in the year, but still, this gives you an idea of basically how he's been playing recently. He's 11th in strokes gained tee to green, 24th in birdie or better percentage, 6th in ball striking, 34th in par 5 scoring, and 6th in par 5. 34th in par 4 scoring, and 6th in par 5 scoring. He's going to be popular. He's going to be chalky, but I see him similarly to Charles Howell III last week. I think he's a must-play in cash games. Next up, it's going to be Scott Piercy at $7,900. Piercy hasn't missed a cut since the PGA Championship, and he has 3 top 10s in 7 events played so far this season. He's also made 7 of 8 cuts in Phoenix, with 5 top 15s. There are going to be a lot of popular plays in the 7K to low 8K range, and I have a feeling that Piercy might get a bit overlooked. So it also makes him a solid GPP play in my book. Again, good stats: 16th in strokes gained tee to green, 8th in birdie percentage, 15th in ball striking, and 34th in par 4 scoring. I like him a lot. I think he can contend this week. Sort of my sneaky pick to win. My last pick, it's going to be Russell Knox at $7,500. I was definitely wavering between Knox, Kevin Na, and Matt Kuchar here, but I decided to go with Knox since he's really been on fire lately, and I don't know how many people have really noticed. Knox hasn't finished outside the top 25 in 9 straight events. I mean, that's pretty sick. 9 straight events where he's been inside the top 25. He hasn't missed a cut on the PGA Tour since the Masters last year. He makes a lot of birdies, elite ball striker, plays par 4s and par 5s well, very good putter. He's only played here once before, but he did finish 15th that year. So the recap, my 4 cash game cornerstone picks this week are going to be Jordan Spieth at $12,000, Brendan Steele at $8,200, Scott Piercy at $7,900, and Russell Knox at $7,500. All 4 of these golfers rank inside the top 10 in my expert model this week, which you can view if you're a member of thefantasyfanatics.com. If you're looking for a couple of value picks this week under 7K, take a peek at Roberto Castro. I think Timothy Frank, a.k.a. Fantasy Golf Man, had a stat earlier this morning where he said that, the last time he led the field in greens and regulation, which he did last week, he finished 3rd at the BMW Classic, or the BMW Championship. So greens and regulations are going to be very, very important. I think 5 of the last 6 golfers who won this tournament have been inside the top 50 in green and regulation for the year. Also take a peek at Kyle Stanley. He's at 6,800. He's a former winner here. He's actually 1st in ball striking for the year and has been playing pretty well. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Good luck. Make sure you check out all the info on thefantasyfanatics.com. The cheat sheet's great. You can take a look at mine, Brad Messersmith, and iPod Todd's models for the week. iPod Todd does his Euro model, and make sure you check out the whole strategy center on the site. So once again, good luck, win some money, and I'll see you next week.